Welcome back. I just finished a training on how to turn your team into a profit machine. And we went really deep into SOPs and KPIs and my predictably profitable team method. So if you're curious about that specifically, why don't you DM me predictably profitable team? I know it's a lot over on Instagram, and I would be happy to send you a part of that training. But for today, I really want to talk to those of you who are looking to scale past 20K months without burning out. That seems to be the place, the ceiling where things can get a little sticky, right? Between $20,000 and $30,000 months. And so you need to know that team is required to allow you to scale past 20K months without burning out. Okay. Because here's the truth. Your team is either scaling your revenue or seriously limiting it. And right now, if you are your team, that's you. You're scaling your revenue or you're seriously limiting it. Okay. Now, when it comes to team, just having a team isn't the answer. So forget delegating. Okay. That's not going to be what changes things. You need a team that actually drives revenue. Because here's the thing that you need to understand: sales is the thing that produces everything you want. Sold out offers, predictable cash flow, higher profits, and generational wealth, which we're required to have generational wealth according to Proverbs 13:22. But you might be like, wait, Jude, you were talking about team, and now you're talking about sales. Well, here's the thing. I believe that you follow me and you're watching or listening to this right now because you, as CEO, want the bandwidth to do more CEO level activities, and you want more time freedom, so that you do the things that you want to do. Like, isn't that why we got into business in the first place, right? And so that's only possible. That is having a great business that brings in revenue, and even more important than revenue, brings in a profit so that you can get paid, so that your clients are doing great and they're getting wonderful results, and you're not overworking. You're not killing yourself. You actually have a life. And so how is that possible? Only with a sales-centric, team-led growth strategy. That is the only way. If you have an operations-centric, team-led growth strategy, right? Your team is focused on making operations super efficient. It's not going to do it. You need a sales-centric team. Okay. Now, I want to talk to you before I dive in a little bit more into what I mean by the sales-centric team. I want to briefly talk about the 6 biggest mistakes when it comes to team that I see. Okay. I want to quickly go through these and then move on to some other important points I want you to understand when it comes to a sales-centric team. Mistake number 1 is being the bottleneck for every decision. The CEO, and maybe this is you, it was me for a time, the CEO that has to approve every single decision, giving other people on your team zero autonomy. Oh my goodness, like that's a big, big, big mistake. That is why you feel like nothing happens without you. So don't be the bottleneck in the decision making. Give your team members autonomy to make certain decisions, potentially with or without your approval. And we're getting into some nuance here, but don't be the bottleneck for every decision. Okay. Mistake number 2, micromanaging. Micromanaging. It's similar to being the bottleneck, right? Micromanaging, I like to think of it as my control freaks. I'm a former control freak here. I'm in recovery, okay? But when you demand to be involved in everything, what that really is doing is you're making for expensive duplication of effort. And A players, the ones who would love to do well for you, they really care about your business growing, they're not going to stay long with you checking over their shoulder every 2 seconds, okay? That's a big mistake, micromanaging. Mistake number 3, and this is a real biggie, is failing to document SOPs and systems. Which SOPs, how I use that word is an SOP is a system, and put simply, it is basically how things are done, right? What is done and how is it done, right? So as solopreneurs, CEOs tend to just do the work without documenting how they're actually getting it done. So the SOPs, they live in their head. But without documenting the step-by-step of how things get done, there could be no consistency, which raises a potential quality assurance type issue, right? If you have someone doing this one way and another team member doing it another way, there's no consistency, which means somebody may be doing it wrong or in a way that's not supportive of your business or your clients. And when SOPs aren't there, team members don't have a clear roadmap on what to do or even how to do it. And that makes things super inefficient, and it leads to mistakes. Invariably, mistakes will happen. So, by the way, if you're like, Judy, I don't have SOPs and I know I need to do them, how can I possibly get that done quickly? Why don't you go over on Instagram and hire and put SOPs, and I will send you a simple step-by-step, so that I would say within just a couple of weeks, maybe depending on how big your business is and where you are right now in business, even in a couple of days, you can have some SOPs already done. Or as I say, DON, baby, they're done. All right, let's get back to these mistakes. Mistake number 4, failing to hire strategically. Okay, hear me on this, please. Too many CEOs hire warm bodies. They say, I just need somebody to help me with this. I need somebody that I can just pass this off to. And they hire without regard for the specific skill set that's required for the work to be done and without minimum requirements for the position. Okay, now I'm gonna give you an example. And I hear this all the time, and it baffles me, but it is that typically, because of what the gurus tell us, so many women have as a first hire a VA. And what I've discovered from working with these CEOs is they assume the VEA can do it all, right? Video editing, podcast production, web design, right? In addition to the conventional admin type work. This is dangerous, dangerous for you because your VA may not have the skill set to do that. So you think you're saving money by telling your VA, just Google it and figure it out. Meanwhile, it's taking her longer to do that. The quality of the work isn't there. And you could have gotten a better result and ended up not paying that much more for the true expert with that skill set to actually do it. Even if it's, there was a time when I'm like, well, I have to bring somebody on with at least 10 hours a week. No, if you need somebody for 2 hours a week to do video editing or, a couple of hours a week to do podcast guesting pitching, for example, you don't need to hire somebody for a minimum of 10 hours or 20 hours a week. You can take it as you need by skill set. Okay, does that make sense? Now, I want to make available to you my hiring guide where you will learn who to hire, when to hire, what to pay, and even where to find A players. All I need you to do is to find me on Instagram and DM me hiring guide, and I'll send that guide straight over to you for free. All right, we're going through our 6 mistakes, and we're up to mistake number 5. This might surprise you, but a big mistake when it comes to team is over hiring. I see it. Here's where it comes down. Either women stay as solopreneurs for far too long because they think they can't afford to hire, okay? Or they overhire, right? Because they think the more people I have on the team, the bigger the team, the more things will get done. Well, in my experience and working with clients, also besides my own experience, what I find is that no, more doesn't get done. All it does is take money out of your pocket. Okay, so don't think that the answer to a problem is to hire yet another person. You have to hire strategically. Okay, and then mistake number 6, and this is huge. This is a nuance, but I wanted to include it. Plugging your business into a contractor's business. Here's what I mean. 2 years ago, one of my mastermind clients, she was at about $400,000, and she had this VA agency that worked for her and was working great for years. But more recently, she said, Judy, I have to part ways with my VA agency, and I'm hiring another. But I'm having a problem getting my emails and my Canva graphics and other things, from them. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not understanding. And here what happened was my client plugged into the VA agency's business, meaning her emails were on the VA agency server. My client had access, but it was the VA agency that owned that. When that VA agency was creating social posts and videos and graphics, it lived on their Canva, right? Not on my client's Canva, right? And same with the project management tool. So please, I don't care if you're hiring an employee or a contractor, if you're hiring an agency or otherwise, make your people plug into your business and use things living on your servers and in your accounts, not the other way around. Okay? All right. Now, with that said, we're talking about hiring in order to make your business more profitable. And I really want to paint a picture of what's possible when you embrace what I'm going to teach in just a second about a sales-centric team. So feel free to close your eyes. But here it is. It's Monday at 3:15 my time. So just imagine it's 3:15 on a Monday, and it's been a fantabulous day, a great start to your week. Earlier this morning, you had an amazing time with the Lord. You enjoyed a relaxing breakfast. You worked out, and then you had super fun strategizing about the next quarter. You checked your bank account as you do every morning, and you confirmed that you have 6 full months cushion there. Plus, you have nearly $200,000 in recurring revenue coming up in the new year. And as you always do on a Monday, you review last week's team reports, the KPI reports. And you see there's a great number of new leads coming in, there's sales coming in, there's re-enrollments, etc. And as you just like look at this and consider and you're sitting there like, I can't even remember, this is you talking, I can't remember when I felt more excited or more at peace or more joyful when it comes to my business. So you look up and say, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Now, when I paint that picture, you can open your eyes if they were closed. My question to you is, that's what you want, isn't it? And so you're like, yeah, Jude, that's easy. Of course I want that. But the question is, How can that become my reality? Well, the answer is you need a sales-centric team. Now, what do I mean by that? When you think of team, we typically think of an operations or back end or systems. And that is, I need a team that is operations centric. The focus is almost exclusively on making things work more efficiently. Like, I want the team to be more productive. I want more things getting done and getting them done better. And while that's great, like, who wouldn't want more efficiency, more productivity? That's important. But when you say, I want things to be done more efficiently, my question to you is, efficiency to what end? Like, what's the goal here? Efficiency for the sake of efficiency? No. My answer is efficiency for the sake of sales. So the truth is, the most successful businesses take a sales-centric approach to every decision, to every goal, to every department on their team, to everything. Because without sales, you don't have a business. So hear me. And by the way, if you're triggered by the word sales, you've got to request my private podcast. Go to judyweber.co/private podcast. It's my holy sales private podcast. You will understand what sales really is, as God would have it, and as he has said in the Bible. We're not talking about secular sales, the bro feel gross tactics. We're talking about strategic, highest uttermost service to your clients. So judyweber.co/private podcast to get access to that. But listen, sales must be the focus in everything. Because here's the deal. If sales is not the focus of your marketing, you're going to have lots of leads that won't convert. If sales is not the focus of your offers, you're going to have amazing offers, amazing services, but not enough clients. And if sales is not the focus of your team specifically, your team will be busy and maybe even productive, but they're going to drain your bank account. Okay. And I'm not talking about having your sales team to be sales focused. I'm talking about everybody on your team needs to be sales focused. Now, there's so much I can say about this, but right now, what I want to do is I want to take you through my predictably profitable team method. Because don't we want a predictably profitable team? Okay. So these are the steps to make sure that your team is profitable. And indeed, that everyone on the team pays for herself. Okay. Because every 7 and 8 figure CEO knows that every team member needs to pay for herself. Break even is the minimum. Profit is the goal. And so if you're currently a solopreneur listening to this, get ready, baby, because you are going to want to start and confidently begin building your team. Okay. So here are the steps. And I'm assuming that you have some sort of team. That's when, oh gosh, no, I just messed that up. Doggone it. Okay, we're going to tell you. Okay. All right. So here's how we ensure that you have a predictably profitable team. Step one, and we're going to take a team member specific. So you do this for each of your team members. Okay. So now step one, what is this team member's average weekly pay? Okay. So you figure that out. Okay. Here is Samantha. Okay. She is my fill in the blank, and this is what she gets paid every week. Okay. Now we want to make sure this exercise is to make sure that she is a profitable team member. Everybody needs to be. Okay. So step one, what does she get paid every week? Step two, I need you to review your KPIs that are assigned to her in order to determine the potential revenue that's generated when she achieves those KPIs. Okay. Now, if you're like, Judy, I don't know what a KPI is, drop KPI wherever you're watching this, or go over to Instagram again and drop KPIs, and I'll take you through a training. That's huge for you to really get the most out of this. But you're going to review the KPIs in order to determine the potential revenue that's going to be generated when she meets those KPIs. So let me walk you through an example. Let's say you have a social media manager, and one of the tasks that she does is she posts on social, she talks with people in the DM, she reaches out, both outbound and inbound. Let's just say that. Okay. Now let's assume that one of your KPIs for your social media manager is book 5 calls a week, right? You said that is your work. All of your posting, all of your conversations. The idea is book 5 calls a week. So what potential revenue could come into the business when she books 5 calls a week? Stay with me. This is important. And I know you're smart enough to follow this. Okay. Now let's assume your close rate on sales calls is 60%. And I just chose 60% because the math is easier. But I will tell you, if your close rate is less than 80%, we need to work together to change that. Okay. But let's say you have 5 calls, your close rate is 60%. That means that when she brings you 5 calls a week and you close at 60%, you're going to sign 3 clients in a week. And so if those 3 clients enroll in your 5K offer, the potential revenue just for that one KPI is $15,000. And I don't know about you, but I'm almost positive you're not going to pay your social media manager anywhere near 15K a week. So brava, sister, congrats. In this example, your social media manager is highly profitable. Okay, now let's do another example, this time a VA. Let's assume that one of your VA's KPI is to generate one referral a month, just one referral a month into your 5K offer. Again, congratulations, because when she meets that KPI, you're going to be bringing in 5K in a month. And I'm almost positive you're not paying your VA 5K a month. So again, woohoo, good job. Now, do you see how it's possible when you approach strategically what every team member is doing and how what she's doing is impacting the bottom line? Do you see how it's possible for you to make sure that you're making money with every single hire? Like, you are actually in control of that. Does that make sense? I hope so. All right, let's do one more example. Sticking with the VA example. Let's assume this time that your VA's work doesn't directly generate revenue. I'm like, dude, my VA isn't doing referrals and this other stuff. So all she's doing is admin work. Okay, how can you ensure that her work will ultimately generate more revenue than you're paying her? All right, let's assume that even if she does just admin work, that she's going to open up 1 hour a day for you. That's 1 hour a day. She's going to take things off your plate. That's 5 hours a week in your calendar that's open by hiring this person. Let's further assume that you decide to dedicate 3 of those 5 hours per week to revenue generating activities. And I'll tell you exactly what we're going to assign that to, but hang tight. So 3 of the 5 hours, you're going to do revenue generating activities. That opens up 2 hours a week for you to do whatever you want. Attend Bible study, meet friends for lunch, visit the grandkids, whatever you like. But let's say with respect to those 3 additional hours a week for revenue generating activities that you decided to hold an easy lift event. You decided you're going to do it every other week. So twice a month, you're going to host an easy lift event. And by the way, if you're like, what's an easy lift event? Oh my gosh, oh my golly. I want to tell you more about it. I did a video that I'd love to send your way. This is what replaces traditional webinars and multi-day challenges, etc. And it's just the easiest way to sell one-to-many that you've never even heard of, because I just created it, okay? But it's this is what's working right now. So again, DM me over on Instagram, easy lift event. I'm happy to send to you that training. So the deal with these easy lift events is that the time it takes you to prepare for these events, host them, and follow up afterwards definitely takes less than, even 5 hours a month. So it's going to open up even more time for you to do something more than this. But okay, you're following me? Okay. Let's assume further that you sign 2 clients into your 5K offer every time you do an easy lift event. So that means that you're going to generate 2 times 5, that's $10,000 every time you do it. And you're going to do that twice in a month. That's $20,000. $20,000 generated per month, made possible because of the hours your VA was working, opened up for you. And you're making $20,000 with less than, 5 hours of your time. 20,000 divided by 5, that's $4,000 an hour. That's what I call CEO pay. Do you see what I mean? This is how every team member drives revenue into the business, whether directly or indirectly. Okay? That was step 1 and 2. Step 3 is this. If step 2 reveals 0 potential revenue and 0 hours reclaimed for you, you've got a couple of options. 1, you can either revisit that team member's KPIs so that her work actually does save you time and or generate potential revenue. Like maybe yes, I'm going to start a referral program as an example. Okay. You can either revisit the KPI or you can terminate her. And if that sounds harsh, you need to hear this. CEOs need to make strategic decisions, not emotional ones. And that is leadership. Okay. Now, I want to end with some keys to making your team profitable. Number 1, you've got to only hire A players. Okay. And A players are those self-starter leaders who really care about your mission. So they need to be paid accordingly and profitably, right? So they're getting good pay, but you're making a profit with that. You see what I'm saying? It's a win-win-win all the way around. What's another key to making your team profitable? You need to have company SOPs, because everybody in the organization needs to know not only what they're doing, but precisely how to do it and how what they're doing fits in to everything else that's happening in the business, so that they don't feel like they're like in a silo and they don't understand how things work together. So you need company SOPs and KPIs that everybody is aware of what other people are doing. So again, they see how they fit in to the picture. And if you're like, what's KPIs? DM me KPI and we'll talk. Okay. All right. Another key to making your team profitable, you need to assign ownership of outcomes. That's KPI. Your work is going to produce this outcome, right? Because the idea of a team is I'm not just handing off a to-do list, I'm assigning ownership of an outcome. Your work will produce this outcome, whether it's leads coming in or sales coming in or time back to me. Okay, assigning ownership of outcomes. Another key to making your team profitable is incentivized compensation. Incentivized compensation. What I mean by this is, just for example, if you are currently paying someone on your team by the hour, that should be the base, not the ceiling. I offer my team members, right now it's just me and one because we're very efficient as a team, but when I had a number of them, every single one of them had an opportunity for limitless income, right? I wanted to incentivize my team of A players to always go the extra mile. As an example is, when you meet 3 out of your 4 KPIs, you will get a bump in your compensation, maybe 10% extra. And then if the company meets its goals, you'll get another 10% as an example, whatever the numbers are, but you give them an incentive to not only do the work well, but to go above and beyond. Okay. Another key to making your team profitable is you leading people well. You've got to set the expectations early and often, show them what success looks like for them in their role. And when there's issues and problems and things that need to be discussed, you can't avoid hard conversations and possibly terminations. That can be a very hard conversation. Okay. But that is a part of leading well. And then finally, the final key to making your team profitable is weekly KPI review. You need to have every team member track their results, their outcomes on a weekly basis so that you can measure the overall status of the business. Like, are we moving in the right direction? Are we making progress? Are we growing? Right? If you don't know that, if you're not tracking the outcomes of your team members, then you're really flying blind. And one more thing I just want to mention is that when I work with my clients, I share with them what I call the $1 million scaling document. It's kind of an unsexy name, but $1 million scaling document is what I call my annual strategic plan. This is where your company's KPIs are put in a one-page document that holds all the key information that you or your team members need. This one document keeps everybody on the team informed, focused, and on track. And this annual strategic plan is absolutely instrumental to scaling beyond 20K months. And I share my annual strategic plan template with my clients. So if you are curious about what that might look like to work together, I would encourage you to write over on DM. Find me over on Instagram. DM the word profit over on Instagram. I'm at Judy Weber Co. So Instagram.com/Judy Weber Co. Go ahead and DM me profit, and I'm going to be in touch with more details. I'll walk you through exactly what it might look like to work with me. There are many different ways to do that. But here's who it's for. And I don't accept every client. In fact, my mastermind, I would say I turn down 1 or 2 ladies each and every month. Okay. Because I don't work with just everybody. Okay. So if you are no longer the CEO who is overworking, you refuse to overwork ever again. If you refuse to overpay again, and if you've decided here on the eve of 2026 that you are stepping into your profitable CEO era, then go ahead and DM profit for me over on Instagram. Because the idea here is if you're ready to scale your business past 20K months while actually loving your life and business feels lighter and more joy-filled than ever, DM me profit over on Instagram. And for those of you who are like, Jude, I'm not yet at 20K months. Is there a way we can work together? Absolutely. Absolutely. So still profit, because no matter what level of business you're in, it's not just the revenue that comes in, it's the profit that is left. And whether you are looking to get to your first 10K or your first million, there is a way that we can work together to get you there sooner than you may think. So DM over on Instagram the word profit, and I will be in touch with how we might be able to work together. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm curious, if you are like, I want more of these trainings on team because I really want to better understand how, if you're like, I really love this idea of strategically going after a profitable team and not just taking whatever's left for you. Because look, I'll end it here. You as the CEO should be the best paid member of your team. And as I work with clients, that's not always the case. But my clients, when they come into my world, that's what we look at. That's what we look into. We examine and we go deep into the team structure and what you're paying them and what you're getting as a result. That is huge. And so again, if you're curious on how exactly do you do that, Jude, DM me profit over on Instagram. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.